They are the very soul of the education you receive in St. Stephen's College. And therefore, those who make it a fashionable thing to belittle the assembly expose themselves as academic bores. They don't understand what education is. I know it is fashionable to pretend that, I've arrived, I'm complete, I don't know anything, I don't need to do anything. Nobody needs to tell me or teach me anything. It's very fashionable. But only the most stupid among us will say this. We have not even begun. At my age, I know I'm a very, very timid beginner. So remember this illustration. There is a masterpiece. Today you are an amateurish copy with the potential to approximate yourself to that great manifestation of the marvel of human creativity. So I've now said two things. One, there must be vulnerability. Second, there must be an openness to the essence of the other. Just as you have an essence. At any stage in time, our essence is not completely understood even by ourselves. The same goes to the other person. And therefore, when you ask a question, you have to ask that question leaving a margin of charity. Understand? Both for the fact that the question you have asked may be a childish question, doesn't matter. And the answer that you're going to receive may not be a profound one, doesn't matter. What is important is asking in that state of vulnerability and openness. Understood? Now I'm going to take you to a realm which is even more subtle than this. And I need you to concentrate extremely carefully, with full openness of mind. Okay? I'm going to say certain things which could be subtle, but I'll try and make it as simple as possible. With you, I'm now going to look into the dynamics, the process of asking question. All right? And I may have to use a little bit of philosophy, which I rarely do, because I'm not a philosopher really, and that's good for you. Now let's begin like this. What does it mean for you to want to ask a question? At this point in time, I'm not asking the question, do you want to ask a question? I'm assuming that you want to ask a question. All right? That given, let's now ask ourselves, I want to ask a question. What is that state? What is involved in my wanting to ask a question? What is involved in my asking a question? Is that clear? Is that clear? These are extremely important things. What is the question? What does it involve to ask a question? Or put slightly differently, what is it that makes me ask a question? Clear? Very simple. Now, you would know that if 10 people are exposed to the same situation, and if all 10 of them ask questions, all of them would ask different questions. No two individuals will ask the same questions. Okay? You test these things. You can do these experiments among yourselves. Form a group of 10. Ask somebody to say something to you. And you formulate your own questions secretly on a piece of paper. Compare the questions. Not one question will be similar to the other. What does that mean? It means that there is something within you which is responding to the world outside in a certain fashion. Okay? Now the question arises, what is that something within you? Now the only way we can answer this question perhaps is this. is this, that there is something that we call the individual will, right? There is the individual will. Every person has a will of his or her own, all right? So it is the will responding, the will of the individual responding to an outside situation. Now, the will of one person will never be the will of another person. And that's the greatness of creation. If there are 7 billion people, the will of one person will not be the same as the will of another person. Now the question arises, why does the will of the individual feel urged to ask a question? Clear? I hope you're with me. Why does the will of the individual, we have by now established that every person has a will and that the will of one person will not be the same as the will of another person. Now the third step. Why does the will of a person feel urged to ask a question? Okay? You can register that question. Now here I have to take leave of my thinking and depend for the rest of thinking on a German philosopher called Nietzsche. All right? I'm referring to his work, The Will to Power. The Will to Power. Now, Nietzsche says that the individual will exercises itself in terms of a particular twofold complex. That is, two things turned into a hybrid.